Hello to you all. Welcome. Thank you so much for your patience. Hello, Bobby. Welcome. Money. Hello. Yadamagan. Hello. Hello, Mohammed. Guys, finally, for those of you that have been with me for a while and you've requested for my content to be on podcast, finally the time is here. This live is currently being recorded. The podcast will be uploaded. I think maybe by tonight or latest tomorrow. I've put my statuses up, so I've given you the dates. So going forward, whenever I do these lives, just know that these lives will be recorded and they will be uploaded on my Spotify account. So if you haven't followed me as yet, please follow me on Spotify. Astro Dabi, please follow me. So we're looking at the monthly reports when I do the general reports for the sun, moon, and ascendant signs. This is also when I'm answering your questions from WhatsApp to explain certain things. The stuff that won't be uploaded on my Spotify account is when I'm doing live readings for you. So those won't be recorded and uploaded. It's just the reports that I do so that you can always cross-reference as the month, as you into the month, you can cross-reference and look at. But remember, guys, if you're already on my yearly option, you do get a personalized monthly report anyways. So this is more for people who are not on the monthly option and they want some kind of guidance. But nevertheless, it's going to be there. But why I actually created this is not so much because of the astrological part. My passion is not to teach astrology. It's something that if it's not your passion, you will never understand. It's a super science. Nirmala, thank you so much for being so proactive. I really appreciate it. It's a super science. So if you've got no passion towards something that's so deep, you're never going to understand it, and it's quite okay. The whole reason why I've decided to record my content and upload it on Spotify, on Podbean, and various other platforms, which in time to come you'll be notified of, is because of the lessons that I give. And the lessons come, yes, the teachings come from understanding the science of astrology, numerology, immunology, intuition, understanding the dimensions, each dimension, what it's about, and incorporating it into the material dimension. What are the ways that you can, what are the things that you can do to obviously have a favorable experience? An experience is life. Life is an experience. So when I say experience, I'm talking about life, and you can have a favorable experience. Doesn't mean that you wouldn't have unfavorable experiences. The only difference is that the unfavorable experiences, they wouldn't last long, because Namaste Reds, welcome to the channel. They wouldn't last long because you will have the awareness to overcome challenges, and you'll have the awareness to find the beauty in the chaos. And I always say this, that um, whenever you've written down your goals, and let's just say, for example, if you've written down a goal, you want to buy a car this year. Now you've written down that goal, you want to buy a car. Yeah, you've written it down, and you went on YouTube and they told you must say this 100 times to the universe and you're gonna get it. Unfortunately, the universe doesn't give you what you want. You can go and say it 1,000,000 times and you'll never get it. Because if you're thinking about a car, you first need to think about income versus expenditure. Then you got to look at needs versus desires. Then you've got to look at consistency in your work, dedication in your work, putting the extra effort. Then you've got to look at resilience to negative energy. Then you've got to look at confidence, enthusiasm. And all of those things are the qualities that will lead you towards getting the car. So no matter what, what you do, even if you understand astrology, numerology, immunology, if the mindset, which is the most important thing, if the mindset is not capable of understanding what ingredients are required towards attaining, then you are not working with nature's law, because nature's law doesn't change for anybody. There was a question that was asked to me, Abhi, how do you be positive? How do you be positive for the year for 2025? And you hear this from a lot of people. They'll tell you you must be positive. And this is the thing that always shook me many years ago. I was responsible for managing a very large group of people in the hundreds. Eventually it led into thousands. And then, Namaste, Yaresh. Welcome to the live. It's very nice to see you here. I hope the rest of them are here as well. I think if Woods is on this channel, very good. This will be a very good session for him. Everybody knows that we need to be positive. Okay, good, good, good. Everybody knows that you need to be positive. But how do you be positive? We know we need to be positive, but how do you be positive? My neighbor is playing loud music and it's irritating me. How do I be positive? I'm feeling very drained out. How do I go to work? How do I be positive? This is real life questions. This is real life events. My dog is barking whole night. It's irritating me. How do I be positive when the dog is barking? So, yes, we know that we need to be positive. But how do you become positive? So, positivity is not the root of it. Positivity is a consequence of certain characteristics that you exhibit. And we will be talking about, or I will be sharing with you. And this is not the end all and be all. By the way, guys, for those of you that have joined the channel, welcome. My name is Abhi. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive reader, astrologist, Vedic astrologist, numerologist, Westernologist, numerologist, karmic astrology, light giving. Guys, what is light giving? Light giving is if somebody asks you, what's the temperature tomorrow? And if you tell them, you have shed some light in the matter. You're a light giver as well. You're shedding some light. But so we all are light givers. We're sharing awareness. So as a light giver, what light am I sharing with you? I'm sharing the light of how to be positive, how to use the energies that the planets are giving off, how to use the energies of the numerological vibrations that you would encounter every year, how to take that energy and make something out of it that's positive as an experience for you. They're not understanding what's happening and making a complete mess as an experience. So fundamentally, that is the light that I'm sharing, and much, much more. Right? This is all. This is all. Um, this is all spiritual in nature. So I'm sharing spiritual light. So what are the ingredients that are required to be positive? If you're on my social media platforms, you would see that I always talk about consistency. Consistency is something that if you exhibit, I mean, the probability of you achieving your goals, I would say, is over 90%. In fact, I would say 100%, but let's give 10% to unforeseen circumstances which altered the frequency, altered your vibration. But success is inevitable. So I would say 100%. It's just that the timeline, or the time frame in you achieving that will alter, or the time frame will either lengthen, will lengthen if your frequency is altered. But if the consistency is still there, guaranteed success. What success? whatever it is that you're consistent about. Resilience. What is resilience? It's a characteristic that you have to exhibit. Resilience is that which is oblivious, not oblivious, but that which, like an arrow or a bullet, it will find its course to its target, irrespective of what is in its way. It will still find its course. Or you trying to dodge a bullet and still get to where you are. This is the resilience nature, irrespective of the weather outside, irrespective of your hand painting or your head painting, irrespective of all of this. You are resilient towards anything that is coming to hinder you in attaining what you desire. Yash, welcome and thank you for your gifting. It's nice to see you on the channel. So, resilience, consistency, dedication. What is dedication? Dedication means where you put your focus, where you put your force, where you put your energy. How much of energy you're putting into something will determine whether it's fructious in the end or not. Most human beings will put, and I'm saying this from a very humble space, guys, this is a fact. Most human beings will put their focus towards the material existence of life and then suffer why this and suffer the pains and suffering of material nature. That's like saying, um, I'm a mechanic, but my hands are getting dirty. Your hands will get dirty as a consequence of being a mechanic. Similar to this here, if your focus is towards only, or you are entangled, or your focus is purely on the material modes of nature, suffering is a consequence of this because there's an attachment to that which doesn't last, if that makes sense. Right? So, dedication, what are you dedicated to? Yes, I know this sounds like a motivational session. It is, but it's tied back into astrology. It's tied back into spirituality. Spirituality is not putting your hands together and chanting some mantra and all. That's part of it, yes. But spirituality, there's nothing governing it. It's so broad. Spirituality means positive and negative. It's both included. So here I'm talking about how to exhibit the positive nature in you, how to become positive. Because we all know we need to be positive, but how do you become? How does it become happening in your state of experience or in your experience as life? It cannot just be a happening without exhibiting these qualities. You'll find most of the people when we are doing presentations, they'll tell you, you need to be positive. We know we need to be positive, but how do you do it? How? Let's dig into let's try and unravel the hows of doing it. I'm a firm believer or advocate of the hows and the whys. How and why. When you guys in your book readings with me, you'll understand. I go in depth and I try and explain the science behind a certain planet or the energy behind a certain planet. Or if I tell you to stay away from maybe using black clothing for the day at that given day. Why? There's a science behind it. So it's always nice to understand the science behind it, because when you don't understand the science behind it, then you want to shy away from whatever it is because you just don't know. You can't go any more further. And I think this is what everybody suffers. They want to understand, but there is very few people that can go into depthness of it. Jai Shri Ram, yeah. So this is how you become positive. So that's a question that I've answered. Um, it's on my podcast, but this will also be available for you. This whole session will be available for you. And the whole reasoning behind the live today is purely on the discussion of Saturn return, Saturn in the 12th house, and Sade Sati. I'm going to explain these occurrences that happens in the skies, which has a direct impact on all forms of existence. Anything that has taken birth, we can calculate a chart for it. Everything that has taken birth has an expiry date. Everything that was born has an expiry date. So it's called a birth chart, or your natal chart. And in your natal chart, you have different charts that we look at, or I look at. I'm not sure about other astrologers. I know Western astrologers generally don't look at the outer planets. They focus more on the inner planets, which I do as well. But then if there's certain questions asked, I'm forced to look at the outer planets. I'm forced to look at the nakshatras, which is the constellations, the stars. I'm forced to look at the Navamsa. So the Navamsa chart. So these are the three charts that I look at in all my reading. So I focus on the Lagna chart, the Ascending chart, the Rasi chart, which is the moon, and the Navamsa chart, which kicks in the day you get married or the day you turn 36 years of age. Vedic, Lagna, and Nakshatra. Wonderful. You practice Vedic astrology, Yash? Purely Vedic. All right, good stuff. So these are the three charts I look at, irrespective of what questions are asked. And sometimes, depending on the questions, then I look at different charts, your divisional charts. Now, I'm going to go into the whole explanation of Sade, Sati, Saturn return. I'm going to explain this in detail, but before we understand that, we have to understand what the charts are. So when I look at the Lagna chart, your Lagna, your natal chart, what does this tell me? Or what does it tell me about you? Or what you need to know about you? And when I look at the Rasi chart, what does it tell me? And when I look at the Navamsa chart, what does it tell me, or what will it tell you? So for me, based on my experience, the Lagna chart will show me if a particular person is truthful, deceptive. Rising signs are normally referred to as Lagna, and they show the degrees of the Rashi and the Nakshatras that are rising on the eastern horizon. This might sound confusing to you guys. I'm trying to break this down in a comprehensible way. Basically, it shows you, if you're looking at the chart, or if I'm looking at it, it's showing me about you, everything that you desire, your desires of the world, your perception of the world, how you perceive the world, everything outward, how you would present yourself externally. Namaste B. Well, it's more like the mask or the covering the true self, which is who you really are. Some astrologers focus more on the Rasi chart than the Lagna. Some focuses more on the Lagna than the Rasi. Some focuses on all three, giving it equal attention. For me personally, I don't focus on any chart more than the other, because from my experience, the Navamsa chart is a consequence of the Lagna chart. And the Lagna chart and the Navamsa chart, this shows me about you, whether or not the fulfillment or promises that is shown in the on the D1 or the Lagna, whether it will happen or not. So in some cases in the Lagna chart, you might have a certain planet in a very strong position, telling me that, or certain planets in a very strong position, telling me that success is prominent here. But then when I look at the Navamsa chart, I will see certain planets in a debilitated state. So what does this tell me? Yes, you might achieve success, but not at your expectations. You might have difficulty. You'll have difficulty once you get married, or once you turn 36 years of age. You'll have tremendous difficulty trying to keep that, or trying to get even further here, because you've got a debilitated planet or planets, or the planets, how they are orbiting and how they're looking at each other. The energies that they're giving off is not so conducive. So there's a bit of difficulty going even further after marriage, or once you turn 36, there's a bit of difficulty in the financial aspect of your life. So therefore, in some people, you'll see once they got married, Nothing, guys, it's just an example, right? This has got nothing to do with once you get married. It's just an example, right? And so the Navamsa chart has to be taken into consideration. Has to, with the natal chart. Then you've got the Rasi chart or the moon chart. Now, this for me, even though I focus on all three, I think in most cases I pay attention more towards the moon chart, the Rasi chart. And I'll explain why I do it. So everybody is on different states of consciousness based on their way of life. So they would use certain tools to help them differently. But based on my experience, the Rasi chart, the moon, the moon chart, the Rasi chart, this here shows me everything about you, deep within your subconscious, which carries everything from past life, your past life reverberation. What is reverberation? It's vibration. The tendencies that you carry, the fears that you carry, the karma, the karmic memory that you are carrying. I see it very clearly in your moon chart, your Rasi chart. Guys, if you are new onto the channel, or for those of you that don't understand the terminology I'm using, don't pay attention to the terminology. Just try and understand just a little as to what I'm explaining. Don't focus too much on the terminology. It's confusing, yes. Therefore, I don't use so much of Vedic terminology. I try my best not to in my explanations. If you get lost, it's okay. You're not expected to understand this. But when I'm explaining the Sade, Sati, and Saturn to turn the differences here, that I will not be using any terminologies. So you'll understand. The Rasi chart, for me personally, I feel I understand the most about a particular person. Why? Because as a karmic specialist, as a Saturn specialist, I focus on your lessons. I focus on my own lessons. I'm always looking at the consequences of every thought, word, and action in my life. I am dedicated towards focusing on every thought, word, and action before I think. This might sound scary, but I do it. I catch myself thinking about something, and I ask myself, what's the consequences of having this thought? It's going to be in favor of me, not going to change it. If it's in not favor of me, what's the consequences if I engage in certain kind of communication? If I engage in it, it's going to drop me in vibration or bring me down, take me up. I would either continue the conversation or move away from it. Or same with my actions. I'll think about what I'm about to do. Is it going to bring a return on investment for me, or is it going to be at the expense of me and other people? And by paying attention to this thought, word, and action karma, I am now paving a way which is guaranteed light in my life. In most cases, it's a very difficult thing to do, but with practice, you can become very good at it. And your Rasi chart shows you, or it shows me as an astrologer, where your lessons lie. Your lessons are in mind. Your lessons are in action. So the people that will come into your life, I can see the people that will come into your life, what lessons they will bring to you. This is in relationships. This is in your family. This is in work relationships. This is with acquaintances. And this is the biggest, the relationship with yourself. Your sun and moon, they make you. The feminine and masculine is all we are. So without the Rasi, the Lagna won't exist. This is how I look at it. It's not about the chart, it's about the energy. Everything is vibration. The charts will show me the vibration, the differences in vibration from your thought patterns towards in correlation to who you are in spirit versus how you come across to other people. Therefore, they are saying mind, body, and spirit needs to be in cohesion or needs to be synchronized. Why? So that what you think is what you say and what you say is what you do. It goes like this, it goes like this, it doesn't matter. It's in line. So there is, it gets a bit more interesting, when we talk about Trikonas, Kendras, uh, Rustans, houses, Upachayas, all that is a bit more in depth in Vedic astrology. You don't need to understand these kind of things. There was somebody that asked me about Atma Karka. I think it was you, Money, if I'm correct. Those things, yes, they are very, very beneficial to understand, but you have to understand the groundwork, and then we can get into those kind of, you know. So unless you don't have a deep passion towards this kind of science, it's not really necessary for you to understand what's all of these kind of things. This is a word that you'll hear me saying all the time. Your Kendra house is the 14710. So this is the only thing that I mentioned, which is might be confusing for you. Other than that, I stay away from any kind of Vedic terminology, because this whole session is for you to understand, not for me to use certain kind of you know wordings that you're gonna baffle to understand. And these sessions are pointless. So now that you understand the charts, it's then safe for me to move forward and explain Sri Sati and Saturn return. Now, before we understand the return of Saturn, let's understand what Saturn is. What is Saturn? For me personally, Saturn is, I think, by far the, I won't say the most, I would say the most interesting planet for me, because Saturn is the planet that has really shifted me, because I paid attention towards the characteristics of Saturn and what its qualities are, and this has gotten me even to be where I am today. And in most people, Saturn is the planet that gets you to be where you are. You just don't know it. Depending on what religious views you have, you go to some, learned person, and they'll tell you, I bow down to all learned people. I bow down to everybody. In fact, I bow down to everybody in this channel. We're all coming from the same source. We bow down to the same light that's within you, that's within me. There's no difference between you and I. The difference it may seem is between you and I, but the only thing that I can pick up is I'm tuning into a different frequency than you. That's the only difference. I think that you're part particle of supreme consciousness, or droplets of from that of cosmic ocean. So now that we understand the different charts, it's then safe to move forward to understand Sri Sati, or to explain Sri Sati and Saturn return. Now the key word here is Saturn. What is Saturn? What is the characteristics of Saturn? Namaste, Mix, welcome. What is the characteristics of Saturn? So as I told you, you can go to some learned person and they'll tell you that, it's a 7-year bad luck period, or it's a time of bad luck time, or difficulty time. Or look, guys, whilst this is not far from the truth, there's a lot of, I think the way it's explained is incorrect. For me, I'm a firm believer in never focusing on the negative. If you are following some kind of path that focuses more on the negative, beware of the enemy, beware of this and that, you're in the wrong place. I'll tell you why. If you are hearing all that all the time, your consciousness is shifted towards this frequency. Beware, look out for. It's a very low dimension. It's the dimension of fear. You will attract only negativity in your life. If you're only concerned on beware or worrying about who's affecting you or doing this, you will live a very miserable life. If every day you will think who is out to get you, I promise you, you will live a very hellish life. Hell and heaven is not out of this world. It's a state of consciousness within here, within you here. And these people will make you live in that hellish state of consciousness to control you. They will instill fear in you. Always focus on the negative. Somebody is doing something for you, or uh, your enemy is trying to do this and conspiring against you. Don't worry about all that, John. Whilst there's truth to it, pay no attention towards that, because you don't want to shift your consciousness from where it is to a lower vibration, if that makes sense. We don't want that. Yeah. Guys, I hope I'm making sense so far. I really hope I'm making sense. So I hope I'm not going too deep. And it's okay if you don't understand um, much of what I've already explained. I think with continuous sessions that you join, it will make sense. Now, Saturn is not the planet to bring you bad luck. Neither is it the planet to bring you good luck. You think Saturn got the time in the world to decide who's done good and bad and I'm going to harm you? Why is it that we people think that planets and God want to harm us or punish us? Does it ever make sense? There is no God or planet that punish us. We are the ones that punish ourselves based on our karma that we do. Our thought karma, our word karma, and our physical karma. We just don't know it. Thank you very much, Karen Faith Hendricks. May your pockets always remain full. Thank you very, very much, Rich. We are the ones based on our karma. We are thinking, speaking, and doing unknowingly or knowingly, and we're getting the return of it. It's just that depending where the planets they orbit or the transit, we'll get it at that time. So we are the makers and the creators and the destroyers of all our experiences. And I think if you can grasp what I'm saying now, if you don't understand Sade, Sati, and Saturn return, if you just understand what I said, I've done my job on the session. Because that's what Saturn return and Sade Sati is all about. Taking you out of this Maya or illusion that you're in, that if you do wrong, there's some God gonna punish you. Or you're not gonna enter the gates of heaven. Leave then. You will not enter a heavenly state of experience now if you are vibrating low. That's the fact. Yes, it is true, but the way it's explained is incorrect. Everything is a state of consciousness, and it's the now. Now is the only thing that exists. So Saturn is the plane of existence or planet. Namaste, Shalisha, and welcome. Or the dimension of reality or planet whose dharma or duty is to give off as you think, speak, or do. This is the planet that gives off exactly that. You know, when we say whatever you think, speak, or do, the universe gives you in return. What is the universe? Everybody knows this, but nobody knows where it's coming from. Oh no, God is giving it to you. Yeah, but how is God working? Through the planets. Nature's law is the planets. In the material dimension of existence, the planets are controlling everything. They control your sight, your hearing, your abilities, your disabilities, the food, the plants, the animals, every single thing that you can think of. It's because of the planets. And if you take away one away from the solar system or the solar system, kapush, everything is gone. So each planet has its own dharma or duty. You will never find the sun giving off rain. Similar to this here, Saturn is the planet of consequence, cause and effect. Modern science, cause and effect. Same like this here. Who's giving you the effect? Saturn. Saturn is the planet that brings in all the effects from all your causes. Jai Shri Ram. Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Ram. So I pay huge respects towards the various dimensions of existence. That's the planets, the different planes of existence or dimensions of reality, or I may call them gods. I won't mention the names on this channel because this is not a religious channel, it is a spiritual channel. But nevertheless, I'm conducting my purpose. My passion is to share the light, and there's no difference between the word light to Ram itself. I bow down to the light, which is Ram. It's through this very light that I'm able to see and deliver. It's through this very light or awareness that I'm able to absorb and become. It's through this very same light that I'm able to expand yet still be. It's through this very same light that I have understood so much, yet I don't understand much at all. It's through this very same light that there is capabilities, and there's so much more capabilities that I'm unsure of yet. It's through this very same light that all the dimensions of existence emanates from, and in the material dimension of existence which we are in, I bow down to that same light which has manifested itself, himself, in the form of the 9 planets, and I bow down to the 9 mothers. So there's various dimensions of existence. There's the material dimension, there's the astral dimension, which is beyond the material. So as spirit soul, we are coming from the astral dimension and above. We've dropped down into the material dimension, and because of that, we've taken a material body. We've taken a material body, which we call as us, as who we are, or the vehicle that we have to move around on this planet. However, our spirit still carries its very own karma or vibration. And this very spirit has an attachment, which is the mind, which we have a spirit to use at our own free will. To either go left, right, up, down. We have the ability to use our free will and do as we please. And in doing as we please, there is consequences to it. And based on these consequences, we are deciphering what is right and wrong. We are segregating. But what is right and wrong doesn't necessarily mean it's right and wrong at its most. There's far more to it. Based on our experience, something might be right and wrong. But based on a higher dimension, from a higher sight, it's very different. For example, an ant can only see in 2 dimensions. It can go left, right, forward, and backwards. But we are 3-dimensional beings. We can see that ant where it's going in that direction, what it's going to encounter, and how high it has to climb up over something to get where it needs to go. But it cannot see that. It cannot see up and down. So there's from the 4th dimension, there's more capabilities of sight, and from the 5th dimension, so it's like that. So right and wrong is just based on our own perception or experience. Fundamentally, it's not the end all and be all. But there is a science which is also knowing and also perfect, that it is as it is. It's nature's law. And nature's law is the planets, how they work. So Saturn itself, as we understand, is a planet of consequence, to deliver the consequences of every thought, word, and action of yours in accordance to nature's law, not yours law and not my law. It's from nature's law, which is perfect. And there is no being that can alter its frequency or escape a Saturn return or a Sati, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of how much of money you have in the bank account, irrespective of your title, or as a collective consciousness, we cannot alter the degree of Saturn. That will tell you that nature's law doesn't work for you, neither it works against you. Nature's law is as is. What you and I do with it is entirely up to us. If the sun is shining outside, it's your duty to go hang the clothes or not. The sun will never tell you, hey, please go hang your clothes. I've never heard the sun telling me that. You understand? So it's your consciousness or your choice. Your choice is the right word to decide whether you want to hang your clothes outside or not. And the consequence of that is your clothes will get dry. So you are using intelligence or karmic memory to fix a concern or to have an experience, a positive experience of life. I'm using these examples because it's happening in every home. Similar to this year, in your Saturn return means Saturn is returning at the same place it was when you were born in your natal chart. If I take a picture of the skies at that moment you were born, that time, that day, at that moment you were born, where the planets are, that becomes your birthplace. And as the planets transit after that, they impact each house. So let's just say if you're born with Saturn in the first house, and now you've got your first house or your D1 or your first house is maybe Aries. And let's just say Saturn is now in Pisces. So Saturn has an impact in your second house right now, even though you're born with Saturn in the first house. Saturn's presence right now is in your second house. So he's shining a light in your second house. This might sound a bit confusing. Don't worry about it. I will explain in time. Well, just for those of you who have just a basic understanding, this will make sense to you. Now, Saturn takes 2.5 years to move from one sign to the next. And if there's 12 signs in the zodiac, we can then say that Saturn takes 29.5 or 30 years to complete one cycle of all the zodiacs. Now, if you're born at Saturn in Aries, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, right there, 29.5 years to return at that same spot. So Saturn has given you your consequences in every part of your life. Each sign or each house is each area of your life. Saturn is given you your karma in each area of your life. But once you turn 29.5 or 30, or once Saturn enters that point in your chart where it is in your first house, we call this Saturn return. And what are the things that you can undergo here? So this is in your Lagna chart. Saturn return is in your Lagna chart. It's at the same point in your Lagna chart, your sun, your Lagna, your ascendant. This is a time where most humans, once they turn 29.5 or 30, this is where Saturn starts to show his presence. You'll find a lot of people go through these challenges, relationship concerns, health issues, and this can spread all the way right up until 35, 36. Up until you turn 36. Major relationship issues, accidents, health conditions, financial difficulty. Some people end up in jail. Some people end up in court, divorces, hospital. Some people end up in rehab. Some people have they don't sleep properly. Well, most people don't sleep properly. You start to feel old. You start to feel old. You start to feel that time is running out. Saturn governs time. Saturn governs hospital, rehab, jail, courts. Saturn teaches you the lessons through this. Remember I said Saturn is the planet that give you the consequences of your actions. And most of us, unknowingly or knowingly, we just didn't think that something is watching us. We go through life and then boom, Saturn return. And then you're getting rewarded for your karma. So Saturn is giving you all that lessons in return in hope that you learn from it and move forward in life. So it's very difficult when Saturn presence hits the 12th house. 12th house, 12th sign from your lagna. This is where you start to feel this transit the most. You start to feel that somebody is knocking at your door, waiting to expose. If you've been lying, cheating, in relationships, you'll get exposed. Um, if you've been drinking and driving, you'll get caught. Life can take you very far away from your home. A lot of long distance travel. Thank you very, very much. Triple 4 6s or 4 6s. May your pockets always remain full. My mind ups to your creator's ears. Creator. What is creator? This is a topic for another day. There's no such thing as creator. The source, yeah, the creators, but anyways, I'm going to go into that discussion. I'll save that for my next podcast, guys. I'm loving this. So, Saturn's presence is felt in the 12th house. His presence is felt very strong. It's 2.5 years in the 12th house, 2.5 years in the first house. And the first house is, so that in the 12th house, if you're around 30 years of age till 31.5, this is where you might go to foreign journey, foreign trips, foreign lands, depending on where the other planets are. Guys, we must understand that I also got to look at where the other planets are. But in most cases, this is what happened. The actual person starts to feel that I'm sick and tired of doing all of this. I need to do the right thing. It's just a thing. Where does it come from? It comes from Saturn. I just feel time is running out. I need to make decisions now. I need to stop doing what I'm doing. I need to create a better way of life. And you'll see that it's very hard to do that. And then boom, Saturn comes to deliver the karma to help you. If you are having a difficulty in giving up a certain addiction, then boom, Saturn can take you for rehabilitation. You see a lot of people between 30 to 35 years of age, they end up in rehab, relationship counseling. If you have a difficulty in eating unhealthy food, letting go of unhealthy food, between 30 to 35, 36, boom, you realize in hospital. And you're forced to let go of it. Yet you already knew it before. Saturn seals the deal. But sometimes he seals the deal and you change. But then as you get better, you revert back to your old self. You see? So Saturn, the 12th house, he will bring these experiences to you. If you are in a relationship and things are not going well, you will see that either your partner will let go of you. In most cases, your partner lets go of you. In most cases, and in very rare cases, you let go of your partner. If you were both miserable in that, or if there was one person miserable in that relationship. Saturn return, Saturn the 12th house, boom, cuts that off. And it feels very painful. It's something that you will always remember, that pain. Saturn creates a scar on you. It leaves a scar on you so that you remember the consequences of going back to that space. Jai Shri Ram. Guys, is it making sense? If I get 10 yeses, then I'll continue. Oh, nice. And these yeses are coming from all of you that have done readings with me. Lovely, 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 lovely. Oh, mix. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Saturn, your 12th house, buddy. So 12th house, foreign travel. This is a spiritual awakening. But what is a spiritual awakening? Oh, I'm being awakened from what? What are you being awakened from? You've been awakened from being asleep. What is asleep? Having a covering over your eye. What is the covering? It's these very two eyes right here that brings illusion into this world. It's not real eyes. It's the covering, the material world. Saturn brings the awakening by bringing you to a point of reality. You start to feel old. Saturn makes you feel that way so that you learn to value time. Why? Because time is something you cannot control. Saturn brings you to the truth, and the truth is always painful. Why? Because it's much more easier to live a lie. It's much more easier to live a world in illusion. Saturn breaks that illusion. So the sun creates light, and based on that light, you create illusion. Oh, this is what my eyes see, I want that. And then Saturn breaks that illusion if you are overdoing it, if you are vibrating, depending on how your karma is, depending on your vibration. Saturn will deliver the lessons based on your vibration. If you are vibrating so low because you are entangled by material modes of nature, sex, lusting, ego, ignorance, anger, and if you are hurting people, Saturn's presence will be felt the most. Once Saturn goes into the first house after 2.5 years, where he spends another 2.5 years, first house is all about the physical self. It's all about the self, what you think about you, how you come across. It's all about aspecting the seventh house of marriage, relationships, business partnerships. This is where the actual signing of the divorce papers actually happen. This is in most cases where this trauma in the relationship, divorce has been put through, but it's only when Saturn enters the first house we start to see that the documentation is being signed. Saturn cuts off that. Signing happens. This is where you start to see that the health starts to take a knock. The physical body. Life will remind you that no matter what, if you break your leg, your car, your house, none of those things will take you and hold your hand and make you walk in the bathroom to bath. You'll have to still hop on one leg. This is the kind of reality Saturn gives you. So where you don't bow down to your car after that, you don't bow down to your house after that, you start bowing down to nature's law. Oh, Jai Shri Ram, I just love what I just said now. Because this is a reality. This is a reality, and everything that I talk about has been within my experience. I'm a person that will not talk from any kind of book or books or videos. I bring my own experience into this to explain to you so that you understand, because these are things that will happen depending on your karma. And you need to find the lessons in it, because that's the whole point of a Saturn return. So this is what I picked up. Hey, my leg is like broken here now. I'm looking at my car. I'm looking at my roof. I'm looking at my TV, my couches, none of those things. My bank cards, my keys in my hand, none of those things are going to hold my hand and help me to walk in and go shower. Hey, I'm like, hey, it's something. After that, I don't pay too much attention to this. I pay attention more towards the listen. Now, this is how you find beauty in the chaos. This is life, how you find beauty in the chaos. But don't worry, guys. This podcast will be available for you to listen after this. Saturn in the first house, aspect in the seventh house, fourth house, and 10th house. This is where people can start in the home. You see brothers and sisters, the truth come out, what has been bugging each other. Finally, one person, the person undergoing Saturn in the first house, will gather, harness the strength to deliver what has always been there, the truth. You see a lot of family trauma during this time, family breakups. Fourth house, 10th house, you'll see a lot of questioning around in the career. Am I doing something that I'm passionate about, or I'm doing something that is putting food on the table? And you start questioning yourself. How do I align both together? How do I do that which I'm passionate about, which puts food on the table? You will see a lot of people come to this realization once they turn 33 years of age. And there's a spiritual significance on the number 33, the number 38, and the number 42. I will do this on my next live, because that's all numerologically explained, and now I'm focused purely on Saturn. which goes back into the planets anyways, which goes back into numerology, which goes back into the colors, which goes back into the days of the weeks, which goes back into chakras anyways. So Saturn in the first house here will bring you this experience. This is where things happen. So Saturn in the 12th house will bring you the experience from a subconscious level, which will manifest in the material. But when Saturn is in the first house, you start to see its full effect. You start to see reality, the actual causes of everything. And after 2.5 years, in hope that you would have understood everything that has happened, Saturn enters your second house aspect in the 8th house of transformation. This is where you start to learn the lessons of transforming yourself in relation to all the experience you should have learned from while Saturn is in the 12th house and first house for you to implement. This is where you start to learn how to manage your finances. This is where you start to learn how to manage your household, how to look after the house, how to be a person of significant value, or lead a life of purpose. This is where a lot of people you'll see a lot of people on social media. You look at the age, you look at what they're typing, what they're writing about, and you just look at the age. This person is 34 years old, 33 years of age, 35 years of age. They've already on a spiritual path. They already realize what's important and what is not anymore. Whether it's a point of just outward show or not, they somehow understand it nevertheless. That understanding is there because experience has brought them to a point of, hey, wait a minute, what am I doing? You start to learn the lessons of money. If you're a person that has no respect for Lakshmi, if you're a person that has no respect for money, or you don't preserve your money, if you don't include Hari or Narayan or Lakshmi, then your Lakshmi will run away. Saturn will take it away. Saturn don't take it away. You pushed it away because you never include Lakshmi Narayan. You never include preservation with money. You never include preservation, respect for money. So who's doing it? Saturn is not doing nothing to you. God is not harming you. God is not punishing you. You're punishing yourself because you've never understood how to use money. Jai Shri Ram, Om Namah Shivaya. The planets don't do you anything. They do based on what you do. God doesn't do you anything. You're inviting all that energy onto yourself. So there's a lot of times where I read on certain people's social media pages, they post about God is punishing this, and don't read all of that, guys. There's no such thing that is true. It is the biggest misconception I've ever. Because when Saturn is in the second house, this is where you start to learn accountability. When you start taking accountability for your thoughts, words, and action, this is where you start making changes in your life. It's very easy to say somebody is punishing me because I don't know what I'm doing. Why move that elsewhere? Think about everything that you are doing. If you pay enough attention to the food in your mouth, I promise you'll actually understand where the food has come from, and your compassion will open up. Your vibration of compassion will rise from the frequency that you're in to the 532 hertz, where you start becoming empathetic. This is what happens when you turn, and certainly in your second house. A lot of people become empathetic. A lot of people give up eating certain kind of foods because they're empathetic to life. They feel the pains of life. A lot of people become very mindful of how they come across. They don't want to hurt anybody because they know the feeling of hurt. It has been within the experience. But before that, they were different people. So a lot of people become better versions of themselves. But how? Everybody know the same. I'm working towards being a better version of myself. How? To the grace of Saturn, by delivering the lessons. He leaves a mark on you so that you remember. So this is the power of Saturn. This is the power of Shani. But most people in this country, in South Africa, if you go to them, most of them who are doing special kind of rituals for Shani Puja and all of that, they will tell you it's a bad luck period. This is not true. Whilst I bow down to all people out there, we are all in different frequencies. We all speak based on what we know. That is not correct. There's no such thing as good luck and bad luck. What there is what you think speak and do you get. And the planets give it to you. It's just that you don't know what's right or wrong. You don't know the science of how to use the planets. You are not aware or mindful of every thought, word, and action. Because when you are mindful or in the vibration of consequence, every thought, word, and action, you will think the right thing, speak the right thing, do the right thing for best for your outcome for you. And this is accountability. So Saturn makes you very accountable. Saturn brings in accountability. Whilst moving away from nature's law, moving towards the darkness, you will never be an accountable person. You will never take responsibility, and you will do the same things that you're doing, thinking that there is some God up sitting somewhere that's going to come and save you. This is ignorance. Now that we understand what is Saturn return is coming from your Lagna chart, your natal chart. But Sade Sati is not that. Sade Sati means 7.5 years. Sade Sati means where Saturn, where your moon is in your natal chart. Saturn's presence in the sky is now. When Saturn transits or orbits the same sign at around 45 degrees angle to where your moon is in your chart, your natal chart, your natal chart. So let's just say if you are in your natal chart, you've got your Lagna is Aries, and you've got your moon in maybe your moon is in Pisces. Or sorry, maybe your moon is in Gemini. Or let's just say your moon is in Taurus. But your Lagna, you Sun Aries. But your moon, your Rasi is in Taurus. You will go through Sre Sati, where Saturn is going through transiting the same sign where your moon is in your natal chart. Guys, does it make sense what I'm saying? It can be confusing, but so all of you who've booked readings with me, you pretty much know whether you're going to Saturn return or not. But Sre Sati is different. You need to know where your moon is, because this is an even more powerful experience than your Saturn return. Because in the beginning I told you, your Lagna chart is everything got to do with the material body, the physical self, how you come across to the world. And we understand that your Rasi chart or your moon chart is bringing about all your karmic lessons, all the deeper lessons from past life, more so from past life. Lots of past life karmic balances that need to pay off. Also from this life. This is the one that is even more, I would call it maybe not painful, but holds more weight according to my practice. Sre Sati, Saturn in the 12th house. This is where you start to feel you get more thin. You start to lose. Some of you might get dark in complexion. For a lot of people who are Sun, Moon, and Ascendant Taurians right now, get prepared because you are about to undergo Saturn in your 12th house in your Lagna chart. But for those of you whose moon is in Taurus, you are getting ready to go through Sare Sati and Saturn return. And whose moon is elsewhere in the chart, you're not going through anything. But you could be going to Saturn return. So Sare Sati has to do everything with your subconscious, everything which you are in consciousness. And fortunately, this is the one that gives you the biggest lessons in your Sare Sati. In your Sare Sati, this is where the burning sensation or the mark that Saturn leaves on you, it can be so deep to the soul that it's virtually impossible to forget. That pain you will remember all the time, which will give you so much of energy to say, no, I will not do that again. So for me personally, say Sati, when Saturn is moving in your 12th, Saturn is in the 12th sign of your 12th, first and second house in your Sade Sati. This is the period where Saturn leaves his mark the strongest, where you will feel the consequences in from a soulful level that I shall not speak this way, I shall not do this way because I know where it got me. I shall not eat this food because I suffered so much when I ate that. Sometimes you can go to Saturn return, go through Saturn return, you can undergo pain, but you'll still repeat those things because you forgot about the pain. But let me tell you, once you go through Sati, the pain is very difficult to forget because it's on a deeper level. It's not surface level on your cement. It's not on surface skin deep. It is felt on a deeper level. Your core feels that. For some people, in the serious Sati period, if they've had addiction to alcohol and they've ended up in a very lousy situation, they will never look at alcohol for the rest of their life because they will remember what it did to them. Or even if they do look at it, or even if they do drink it, it will take them back in time as to the pains that they have underwent. That's your Sudesa. Whilst your Saturn return will make you remember what you went through, it's your Sade Sati that makes you feel that pain on a soulful level. Guys, every astrologer might explain it in a different way. There are different levels of consciousness. There are different levels towards the light. Some is shining 100 watt light, some is shining 100 watts, some is 1000 watts, some is 100,000 watts, some is 200,000 watts. Everybody will explain it based on the wattage that they are shining on. And where they get the power from is from the sadhana, devotion to the higher power. We all get it, we are all shining differently. So based on my awareness, based on my ability to see, I'm explaining it this way, which is very easy to comprehend. So your Sade Sati and your Saturn return is completely different. They come from two different charts. They come from two different planes of existence. One is coming from your sun's placement and one is coming from your moon's placement. One is coming from the masculine placement, one is coming from the feminine placement. And we are a combination of both the Shiv Shakti, the masculine and feminine. We have to look at both to lead a fructious life. Understand? But it's always the one that you feel, and Sade Sati is felt the most because it's the moon. And moon governs your mood. Moon governs your mind. Mood governs your feelings, your emotions. That's why you feel it the most, because it's coming from your moon chart, where your moon's placed, your moon's placed, your moon's, your emotional place, your emotional front, your karma, your karmic front. That is your reverberation, what you are in reverberation. Your deepest secrets, your biggest fears, you shall face them in your Sri Sati. I had a fear of the water. Almost every week now I'm with the water, I'm with the sea. How you like that? Once you hit your Sri Sati, you become fearless. You don't fear anything. It is what it is. Life is a happening. We are a happening from life. We are a happening from nature's law. We are part particle from nature. Once we go, nature is still doing its thing. We are a happening from nature. So Saturn's placement in your charts is making this happening into existence, is bringing about or taking or bringing about the certain dynamics of reverberation in what we call life. The planets are bringing about the different experiences into our life, and we have the choice whether we want to rise or drop in frequency based on how we perceive or how we handle the lessons. If you handle these lessons in your Saturn return and your Sri Sati, and if you implement the lessons, then you shall rise in frequency. This is the Christ consciousness. This is the Krishna consciousness. One above the chakra dimension, above the chakra dimension of realities, above the material dimension where all the planets reside. This is the heavenly state of consciousness, the Krishna, the Christ consciousness. When, let's just say, if Abhi has reached that spot, it will become Abhi consciousness. It doesn't matter. It's the higher state of consciousness. It's beyond the material dimension, but there's different dimensions after that, more levels after that. I don't know all. I will just talk based on what is within my experience, and what's within my experience is here in the material dimension, below the planets or being controlled by the planets, and just one above them, Shiva, that which is not. You'll see once you're undergoing Sade Sati, this is the point of maturity. This is a period of maturity. It's a period of consequence. You start to feel more mature. Maturity is not getting gray hair. Maturity is not getting older. Maturity is where you look at your lessons, you apply the lessons, and you create a better life for you. That's maturity. Taking accountability for your thought, word, and actions. You take accountability and you make the necessary changes to lead a more flirtatious life. And a childlike mind frame, a childlike behavior is where you put the you put the reasons onto somebody else why you behave a certain way. You never take accountability. This is childlike behavior, and you repeat the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Therefore, childlike behavior and non-maturity is in the very low dimension of reality, pain and suffering. Toxic behavior. A lot of people, before they reach the Sare Sati, you see they are very toxic. And a lot of people, after they undergo Sare Sati, they become very mature. They start to question, who am I? What am I here for? What's my purpose here? And they start focusing on leading a life of substance. Not leading a life based on what the mother and father say, oh, you must do this, you must study this, you must get married, have children, and just live like that. Or what your friends say, or whatever. You start to find the deeper meaning of life based on your experiences on your own. This is the maturity period. This is the growing up period. This is the period where you try to resonate with your higher self. And there's no difference between your higher self and intelligence. Your intelligence is all knowing, which is within you. That Holy Spirit or intelligence is within you. It's just that we are very far away from it because we don't pay attention to it. We pay a lot of attention towards the material entanglements, or we get entangled with material modes of nature. And then we suffer that, and you think that, why this God is punishing us. No. So it's during your Sri Sati that a lot of people start to find a higher power. You may not understand it, but you start to search for it. Why? Because you start to realize there's nothing else that can help you save. There's nothing coming to save. This is where you start to realize that you need to go towards it. You need to move towards the heater to get it heat. The heater is not going to come to you. You need to go towards it. This is where intelligence kicks in. This is where a lot of people's thought and belief system change. They start seeking for something beyond religious affairs. That there is something greater than being confined towards some book. Depending. So Saturn in the Sare Sati, in most cases, brings a person to a point of being either a believer or a seeker. Brings a person to a point of understanding that I am where I am based on my own karma. I have brought myself here. This is what Saturn, in hope that you realize. This is what Saturn delivers to you in hope that you realize. I am responsible for where I am. Not to blame my husband, my wife, my granny, my grandfather, my girlfriend, my boyfriend. I'm suffering because he did this to me. I'm suffering because she did this to me. No, nobody done anything to you. We have done this to ourselves. Why did they do this to us? Why are they not giving us what we want? What have we done to make them not deliver? Or in most cases, why am I expecting these kind of things? I should not expect happiness to be at the hands of somebody else. Why must I put so much weight on this person? If I say I love them, why must I put so much of weight in their hands? Or you're responsible for my happiness. That is a very selfish thing to do for somebody you say you love. Saturn makes you this kind of, it brings about this kind of intelligence in your Sari Sati. But it's upon you whether you realize it, find the beauty in the chaos or not. Most people don't. But I promise you, if you follow what I talk about. You are not following me as Abhi. You are following the light which is within me, which is within you. You are not following me. You are following the medium and the channel in which I'm delivering that light which is in you. If you follow me, how I've explained what me is, you'll understand a lot and go very, very far. What is far? You go close towards the heater and you get the qualities of the heater. There's no difference from your higher power to the qualities that it gives off. You will get resilience. You will get determination. You will get success. You'll become peace. It's all these characteristics or qualities is happening from being close to your higher power. You become in a state of peace. It's a consciousness. So Saturn's presence in your life is fundamentally, for me personally, it is the most important planet. Saturn, Moon, Sun are three very big important planets, and Jupiter's presence in your chart. So, I'm a Saturn specialist, so I'll always favor Saturn, right? But from an astrological view, as an astrologer, Sun's presence, Moon's presence in your chart, Saturn's presence in your chart, Jupiter's presence in your chart, and definitely your Rahu and Ketu. And looking at these three charts, your Lagna chart, your Rasi chart, and your Navamsa chart, guys, there's 27 nakshatras. When you divide them into 4 different aspects, you times it by four different aspects, we get 108. So 108, there's a reason for why the mantras must be chanted 108 and all of this. I'm not going to explain all of this in this session, but fundamentally there's a science behind it. Most people don't know these kind of things, but I will do these lives. I'm recording all of this now. I'm very excited, so I'll create a lot of content that you can, you can play at your own, whenever you're free. So if you are on Spotify, please make sure you are following Astro Inudabi. This session will be uploaded probably tonight or maybe tomorrow at latest. If you don't have Spotify, maybe now is the time for you to get Spotify and follow Astro In with Abi. Because this is the kind of content that, you might find it elsewhere. Different astrologers will explain it. But sometimes you might get very confused because this is not just astrology that I'm explaining. I'm explaining what consciousness is, the different dimensions of consciousness. So, for example, if you are talking about Saturn, we are in the dimension of Saturn. If your husband's name is Tom and you're worried about Tom all day, you are in Tom's dimensions of reality. You've put your Shakti or focus towards Tom. You will become Tom. I promise you will start talking like Tom. At some point, you will start slanging like Tom. You'll start cracking jokes the way Tom liked you. If you wasn't eating carrot, you'll eat carrot like Tom. When Tom decides to leave you, you'll become obsessed with eating carrots. You'll become obsessed with using the words Tom if you should start into that dimension. Can you see how this works? How many of you can resonate to that? Pretty much everybody. This is how we become where we put our focus. And so Saturn shows you in your Saturn return and during your Sade Sati that where you put your focus, you're going to become that. Saturn is responsible for that. And in most cases, we want to complain because of our experiences. Oh, Saturn is the bad luck planet, is bringing all of these experience blockages in my life. Saturn will not block anything. There's a lot of people that say this, astrologers that explain, Saturn does not block anything. Because what you did in your past, which you don't remember, Saturn brought that to you, which seems like a blockage. You blocked yourself. When I just started my journey of astrology many, many years ago, when I started doing research about astrology, all of that never sit well with me. Where it was explained, this pretty much all the astrologers will explain it like this. Yes, Saturn brings in blockages in it. Saturn doesn't bring that. Yes, he brings it in, but it's not because he wants to. He's doing his duty. He's delivering exactly what you thought, said, and done. I think that needs to be explained. Because when you just explain it from a point that Saturn is bringing it to the front, we start to paint Saturn as the bad luck planet. And that's what most people in South Africa do. Most people that are the Indian ethnicity group, the Hindus and Tamil, will explain it like it. That's the incorrect way. And here, At Ashto Ravi, I will explain it from a, I will put my hands together and I will explain from a higher dimension of perception because it is exactly that. Just to give you an idea, collectively, collectively we are all consciousness. But we are consciousness to what? We are conscious to what in our lives? So when you go to Saturn return of Sati, that which we have been conscious to all the time, we are in a state of frequency based on what we were conscious to. Saturn comes in and delivers all the experiences, and we don't like it, so we decide to change our behavior in hope to rise. That's how you work with Saturn's presence in your life. In your Sati and Saturn. That's how you work with Saturn's placement in your chart. You work with Saturn. And what is working against Saturn? Let's just say if you're gambling a lot of money. All the time you gambled, you won. Boom. Sati, you lost a lot of money. Now you want to chase now. You gamble and gamble your whole house away. You end up in rehab. You end up in a very dark space. And you'll always remember that. And you go through life, you stop that habit of gambling. Because you remember the last straw on the camel's back. Saturn's sensational. Saturn takes you to rehab. Saturn makes you feel the flow. Why? Because if you didn't, you will gamble your life away. You see? Example. If you're drinking and driving, all the time you never get caught. Saturn Sati, boom, you got caught. They took you to court. You spent overnight in prison, in a holding cell. You know the experience of it. And then boom, you don't drink and drive anymore. Why? Because you know the experience of it. Imagine if you didn't learn that experience of that there, you'd have knocked somebody, they would have died, you would have spent whole life in jail. So we must desire Saturn. We must love Saturn because Saturn is bringing the lesson to you. If you didn't have the lesson, we all will make mockeries of our lives. Jai Shri Ram, Om Shanishtaraya Namah. We all will make complete misery or messes of ourselves. A 10 days row get caught one day. Everybody knows this, but nobody knows that one day when it is. And nobody knows who's going to deliver. Or we just know God will give his karma. Which God is it? When? You don't know. But by looking at a person's Sade Sati, when they're going to approach Sade Sati, boom, we just know the lessons that they're going to get. They're going to undergo. You see? Saturn. Sade Sati, Saturn. Guys, I hope I've done justice on this explanation. Do know that if I have to explain it in to a different crowd, I'll explain it differently based on the crowd. I've tried my best not to use Vedic terminology. I've tried my best not to use much terminology from the Sanskrit language. And if I've offended anybody on this channel unknowingly, please forgive me. This session is all about awareness. This session is all about transcendental state of consciousness. It's all about transcending from our current state of logic to moving beyond logic. This session is all about creating awareness so that we understand how nature is working, so that we can create a better experience because we are that God. We are the creator. We are creating our own experiences, and the planets will deliver. I thank you very, very much, Mani. Thank you very much, Nirmalan. Thank you very much to all the people that have gifted me in this live. Thank you to everybody that have joined this live. Thank you to everybody that have already followed me on Spotify. I will send you guys my Podbean account in time, in due course. My content will be loaded on various platforms, but for now it's just Spotify and Podbean. And Awareness by Abhi has been happening from early stages of 2020, 2021, I think. I think there's over 1,500 pieces of literature which I plan to create audible content for you. This will be accessible through the platforms of Spotify and Podbean at this very moment. So I plan on uploading at least 500 pieces of content this month, another 500 next month, and another 500 the following month. Whilst this might seem like an impossible feat, I'm trying my best to make sure I deliver on this. This is my planet placements, my where my planets are placed in my chart. I have this quality in me where once I start something, I will continue and continue and continue until I'm satisfied. So yeah, once I start something like this. So if you are new on the channel, or even if you are not new but you're not following me, I humbly ask you to follow me, because my true passion, or my only passion, is to spread the name of God. And the name of God is nature's laws, which is no difference to God himself or herself. And irrespective of who we may call him or her, whether it's Christ, Krishna, Allah, Shakti, Parashakti, doesn't really matter, because the qualities is no difference from their state of consciousness. For me, that is not important. For me, what is important is to explain the characteristics of these dimensions so that we all taste a little of it and we all move towards it. Because if everybody is focused on themselves towards rising in frequency, just yourself, not anybody else, just yourself, then the rest of the world will get taken care of. Whether it's 10 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me is what I'm doing in my space that I have here. That's all I'm concerned. Thank you very, very much all. Have a wonderful evening. Jai Shri Ram. Goodbye.